to the exact detail I'd like you to have a go. So I know it's a cavity construction. So first of all, I have a wall, one side, so just to make it neat. Right, let's make it neat so we don't try. This is not to scale, so you need to put yours to scale. So I have a 100 thick wall. I have about 100 cavity, give or take, depending on how competent the contractor is. And I have an outer skin. In my case, I'm feeling fairly rich. I would like brick cavity construction. Put my break mark in, which indicates there's a higher level. And therefore, we know full well that my brickwork must sit on a foundation. Can I just remind you that I'm drawing with a H pencil? Now the foundations, you don't know how deep they are. Typically 1.5 meters for something like this. But in your case, I've not told you that information, so don't worry about it. And how far your building goes down. Put a break mark. That break mark needs to go extended, like so. Right, but I am having a brick construction, so here's my brick. Now, I should tell you that you should be drawing this with a set square, but due to limited time, I'm drawing it freehand. But can you see how I've developed the hatching? Now, insulation typically looks like this. Nice curvy S's. They go straight from the top or the bottom within the gap. Nope, you don't draw this in plan view. Okay. Hatching for concrete or mass concrete, just you grey it out. But in our case, I'm just going to show you these little denotations to indicate that there is some concrete that this is sitting on. Okay. Notice I haven't put a DPM level in, which stands for a damp-proof membrane. Don't worry about that. Okay, I just want to see the structure. We can worry about the damp-proof membrane later. But this is ground floor. Okay. And I need to show you how, for example, I'm looking inside my building, therefore, typically joists will run the shorter span. Why? Because they don't have to bend as much. So therefore, I would typically know that my floor spans look like that within my building. And in my case, I've got timber joists. Okay? So therefore, if I'm drawing this section and I want to see what's inside my building, left-hand side, this is inside my building now, I know that my joists are here, that looks like this, that span. For you, it's typically about 150 deep. That's what you need to know. So if I was to actually just show you an uncovering here, and let's just imagine I could peel away some of the work, what I would see is something looking like this. Just typical. Let me just draw. So if I was to draw you a section here, and just on a curved line. Okay, and forget, actually no, let's leave those in. You would see some joist looks like this. Should I draw in a different color? Yes, I'll draw it in green just to help you out. So I've cut basically away some of my floorboards, because just imagine this is carpet, all this is carpet, all this in here. And I've peeled away some of the carpet, and what you would see is joists that run along here, like so. Spanning the length of your floors. And a typical joist spacing is 400 centers. So from here to here, it'll be a 400 center. From here to here, 400 center, which means 400 millimeters apart from center of joist to the center of joist. But they would be sitting on joist hangers, potentially, joist hangers. Now that's up to you because this is your construction. Joist hangers. That'll be totally different if you had RC concrete. Let's not forget my little noggins. Can you see how I've developed the drawing? Okay, and all I've done is shown you what it might look like if I was to peel away this carpet area underneath. Then I put my plyboard on top, or my timber joists. So I'd lay my timber joists on top of these joists, spanning this way. Because they're not really doing much, it's the joists that are structurally holding the weight up, but they span the shorter distance. I hope that makes sense. Let's quickly just bounce back to the section detail, just to give you a bit of understanding. So, have I drawn my joist correctly? The answer should be no, I have drawn it incorrectly, because the joists usually span the shorter distance. In my case, I've done it incorrectly, but it's good that we know that. I'm going to leave it there just for the time being. Just for the time being. So what I should be drawing then, just to support myself and dig myself out of this grave, I know joists are spanning at 400 centers, so therefore I should have a joist like that, 400 spaced apart, 400 spaced apart, etc., etc. You can have two denotations for a joist. In your case, not to worry, you can have an X, which is the nice easy one, which is the one I would always recommend you doing. Or you can show me what softwood looks like. These hatchings are in the information I go into on Edmodo. You'll see a handout. I would typically stick with the X to benefit yourself. Okay. Now, these are drawn at 400 centers. No, you don't need to write that information in just yet. Okay? However, this is where the information comes. I feel quite happy that this information is good. It's sound. It looks detailed enough. Outside then would look something like this. Shrubs. Okay? But notice I have to draw where my marker is. So in fact, I've drawn a little bit beyond. So what I can do is put a cut line in and rub this up. Because I don't want to draw more than what I have to. Brilliant. Okay, and remember these are your noggins. These can just replace your noggins, i.e. these are your noggins, what you can't see, and you just draw. 3 nice, easy lines. Right, okay. Now let's talk about the information and what we should include. Always make sure that your drawing is on the left-hand side and that you can write information on the right. It's neater, it's easier to go back to the information. Don't have information all over the place. That's very difficult. So what I mean by that is, I have an outer skin here, I put a marker line up, and I put a header. So therefore all my information is going to be written on this side. All that information is going to be written on that side. I have some insulation here. That's where my header goes. I have this brickwork here. That's where my header goes. I have this foundation here. That's where my header goes. And again, I've got these joists. I only need to highlight one. That's good enough. And I could probably highlight these. Have you noticed that none of my lines have crisscrossed? None of them at all. When I say crisscross, my arrows have not crisscrossed. None of my arrowheads are crisscrossed. It's a good technique to do that. Okay? You may also want to put, instead of writing information, you could put a spot height here. How deep should it be below ground? Maybe 1.5 meters typically. That distance from here to here is about 1.5 meters below ground, typically the foundations. Okay, so whatever spot height you've got here. Oh, just realised I could develop a bit more of my drawing. I could put my floorboards, which look like that. Oh, no they don't. It runs the other way. My floorboards, you would just see something like this. Floorboards, and then maybe you might have a bit of carpet on top of that. It's up to you. And this is the carpet, which looks like outside greenery. Okay? But this is the carpet. And here is your timber floorboards. So you might want to highlight that. So just having a look. Doesn't crisscross. There you go. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things to talk about. That's one drawing developed. Now, yes, this video is taking about 25 minutes so far, but the thing is I'm going slowly. Once you get the hang of it, the other side is going to be the same, i.e. when I've drawn section BB. Section BB, the only difference in section BB is going to look like this. You're going to just see it here. Okay, the only difference is here. You're going to have your wall. Okay. Sitting on a foundation. Inside that, you're going to have your joist, which sits in the wall. Now, how does it connect to this wall is what I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to look at. And you need to know that. And it's most typically going to sit on a joist hanger. A joist hanger looks like this. Some sit like that. I don't know, for example. Okay, and these guys are just drilled into the wall. And your timber joists sit on top of these, or sit in them, and they rest on them. There are different designs where actually the joist hanger can actually sit with a lip stuck into the brickwork, and therefore you build your brickwork up on top of that. It's up to you, but you're going to need to tell me what this joist hanger is. For example, if you're going to go buy it from Wix or Homebase, you would say Homebase brand, unit number, blah, blah, blah. It might have a strength, 20 newtons per millimeter squared, probably. You're going to get that from the catalogue. Or you might call it, typically the old ones that we used to use was Speedy Joist Hanger. Speedy Joist Hanger, which has a strength of, I don't know, let's say 16 newtons per millimeter squared. Okay, that's typically what you kind of might want to think about including. Okay, right. Let's talk about this first book. You might want to say something along the line as new inner skin cavity construction brickwork. Okay, that's what you might want to say. Single leaf. Single leaf. That's fine. Then you might want to say here, new outer, blah, 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 similar to that. Single leaf. Sorry, I should have said that for this one, for number 3. So, new outer, blah, 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 blah. Let's just rub this one out. So even I make mistakes, and I'm showing you that I'm doing them in a tutorial, which is fine. This is a 100mm gap cavity construction, 100mm cavity construction, insulation, to be whatever it is to be, blah, 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 blah. You tell me what insulation. You can have whatever you want. You can have sheep wool. You can have, what's that new thing? They actually cut up newspaper and they shove it in the walls. It's quite an interesting one. I've seen that used. Right, let's go back then. So this arrow is pointing at floorboards. So floorboards, 2 span over joists, span over joists, 2B, tell me what the wood's meant to be. For example, 150 by 50 C16 floorboards. Maybe the oak, whatever you tell me, whatever they need to be. I've actually realised I've just drawn onto the other page. Again here, these are noggins, remember, because this is the one that tells you about the joists. And if you were to write here, you would say something like joists to be 150s by 50 C16 timber at 400 centers, center to center. Okay? And you might want to say the same here. Speedy joist hanger, 16 Newton millimeters at 400 centers. Indicates that matching. Down here, there's different types of concrete you can use, but you might want to be specific on the concrete that you want. It's totally up to you what you choose, but you could just say something like new concrete footing. How wide is it? Width. What's the width? Tell me what it is. Okay. Full stop. What else should we talk about? Talked about that. These you can write about the joists. Joists to be at 400 centers. Right, have you noticed that I'm being very specific with my information so that someone can go away and be like, okay, he needs joists, he needs what type of joists? These joists. If I didn't provide this information, and let's think of the alternative, I'm going to write the alternative in green. If I wasn't being specific, I would have to write a specification. So I'm not being specific now, all I'm saying is, underneath each one, brickwork outer skin. This is the alternative. This one, 100 mil insulation. Brickwork out inner skin. I just realized I've made a mistake here. Let's just say floorboards, so I'll just say floorboards. Floorboards to be timber. Timber or oak, whatever you want to put them as, or type of timber. 5, let's say noggins. Noggins, which are these, which are the parts here. Noggins to match joist details. Now, I thought this as a section detail, FYI, but you'll see in a moment, etc., 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 etc. So what I would need to do then is write a separate document on A4 saying all the details, all the specifics. So I'd have a separate document that comes along, or a separate sheet of paper, with a title down here saying specifications, and first one, masonry. Let's talk about masonry first. 1, all masonry to be London brick. So therefore, the contractor, all he has to do is come along and buy masonry brick. He doesn't need to worry about engineering brick. That's it. Then you might talk about concrete, especially with the footings. We do it usually by material. 1, all concrete to be this grade, with a concrete mix of this, blah, 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 blah. So if you don't put your detail in here, your specifics in here, you've got to put it on a separate specification. Whatever's up to you, it's up to you how you do it, but I usually prefer putting my specification on the drawings so it's a bit less work. Okay? Now I hope this tutorial helped. I apologize if it didn't. You're more than welcome to email me with a bit more questions, but this is how I've developed these drawings, just quick brief development. It's taken about 30 minutes to come from here to here. But as you go along, some of this specification becomes repetitive and you start to use the same thing. You need to do it for the roof, etc., etc. Just think about how it's developed. Okay? I hope this helped, and if it didn't, I apologize. Drop me a comment and I'll see if I can respond as soon as. If not, drop me an email. Thanks, class.